folks, 138 MMA here. We have an off week from UFC and Bellator. Obviously, the Contender Series is not in season. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give you a list of my top 5 favorite current fighters in the UFC. I put this out in one of the videos a couple days ago, asking you guys what you wanted to see. If you wanted to see an interview with a fighter, if you wanted to hear my top 5 favorites in the UFC, whatever. This one got the most interaction. Not a lot of interaction anyway, but this one got the most. So you're going to get my list of my top 5 favorites in the UFC. But before we do that, a couple of honorable mentions that I want to throw out there. Matt Brown almost made the list. He's towards the end of his career, though. I figured, you know what, let's put a couple of guys in there that are probably going to have a little bit more fights left in their career than Matt Brown. I do like Matt Brown a lot. Chris Curtis almost edged his way in. The dude's so much fun. I think I'm still a little salty after he lost money on his last fight. Otherwise, he probably would have broke the top 5. But either way, a couple of guys like that, they're really close to breaking that top 5. But I do have 5 fighters that I really enjoy that are in the UFC currently, and I'm going to tell you all about them and why they're my favorites coming up. Coming in at the number 5 spot on my list, we've got Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres. I love Alex Caceres. This dude is so much fun. He can do it all just well enough to just upset so many people. The guy was riding a 5-fight win streak going into his Sadiq Youssef fight in his last fight. Sure, that one didn't go his way. But, I mean, that guy was on a 5-fight win streak. Underdog pretty much every single time. Love it. Something you'll notice is I like a lot of the guys that are underdogs all the time but still win a lot. Alex Caceres is one of those guys. Friggin' love it. The guy can grapple. The guy can strike. He doesn't have a ton of power when he strikes, but he can still strike. He's just good enough everywhere to turn back a lot of these up-and-comers, and it's fun to watch. The guy's super fun to hear when he's talking on the mic, post-fight interviews. Guy's a blast. I remember seeing him on The Ultimate Fighter way back when The Ultimate Fighter was still pretty entertaining. Now it's a little bit more watered down, but yeah, Alex Caceres. I'm pretty much always on Team Alex Caceres unless he's fighting somebody above him on my list. And something that you're going to find out is, for whatever reason, featherweight must be my favorite spot, because I have 3 people in my top 5 that are all featherweights. So Alex Caceres is my guy, but there's a couple of featherweights coming up that are going to rank above him. So if he's fighting any of those, which he happens to be very soon, I got to pick against him. But let's talk about my 4th favorite fighter coming up. In the 4th spot, we got ya boy, Eryk Anders. He is coming off of a loss, but let's be honest, I thought he got robbed. I mean, it wasn't a blatant, robbed at gunpoint style robbery, but my goodness, the guy beat Jun Yong Park. I don't care what anybody says. Your boy got the win there, and he got ripped off. So Eryk Anders, there's a specific fight that made Eryk Anders get in this list. And I mean, he's got a good personality, all that good stuff. But it was 2018, I do believe. Me and my buddy Mike were at a UFC Fight Night card. Eryk Anders is fighting a guy named Tim Williams. Okay, I'm in the crowd. I'm there to actually. Originally, I went there to see one of my other favorites on this list. You're gonna see that soon. Number 2 favorite. I can spoil that much. Anyway, so your boy's fighting in one of the earlier fights. He's fighting Tim Williams. He soccer kicks Tim Williams in the head so freaking perfectly timed. I don't know how he timed it this perfect. He did. It was just to where it was a legal strike. Kicks this dude's head pretty much into the crowd. This guy's lucky that it stayed attached, let's be honest. Sickest knockout I've probably ever seen, especially live. Sickest knockout I've ever seen live, for sure. I'm losing my mind. I'm like, this is crazy. Come to find out, I'm sitting right next to Tim Williams' mom. Really awkward, actually, after that. But my goodness, I'm sitting there like, that was crazy. I turned to my buddy Mike. I'm like, that's crazy. And Mike's like, dude, right beside you. And I'm completely clueless. And I was like, that was sick, though. And he's like, dude, look over there. Oh, crap. Tim Williams' mom sitting right next to me. I felt bad for the lady, especially because she just saw her son's head get pretty much kicked clean off his shoulders. But your boy totally stole the show with that knockout. It was the sickest knockout I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Eryk Anders knocks out Tim Williams. Give some support to your boy, because he got ripped off in his last fight, dang it. But he has a fight coming up against, I think, Kyle Dawkins soon. Next 3rd, the December 3rd, I think. The 3rd or the 10th. I can't remember if he's on the pay-per-view or the Fight Night card. I'll be breaking it down soon. I haven't done all the research on that one yet. But your boy, one of my favorites. That knockout was one of the sickest knockouts I've ever seen. Also, before I go to my number 3, let me know who your top 5 favorite fighters are. Let me know if my list is totally weird because none of them are title holders. Spoiled that already. But let me know what your list is. Another honorable mention. Alex Volkanovski, gosh, how do you not like that guy? I wish I could put him on my list, but he just couldn't edge out any of my top 5. It was close. He's in that three-way tie for 6 with Chris Curtis and Matt Brown as well. But let me know who your top 5 are. I'd love to hear it. This is just kind of a fun video. Obviously, we don't have fights this week other than PFL. I'm not going to pay for the PFL pay-per-view. I think it's way too much money for, a main event where Kayla Harrison's going to beat a girl she's already beat, 2 or 3 times? So if you want to pick, here it is. Kayla Harrison's probably going to win. PFL, that's how it works. Watch now, she'll be upset. But anyway, let's go to my number 3 favorite. I think you're going to start liking some of these. I don't know about these first 2 I've listed, but I've got a couple more fun ones. Let me know what you guys think. All right, here we go. Another guy who is almost always the underdog, but still keeps turning guys back. The Leech, or now known as Action, Damon Jackson. He got the Action nickname now because of his brother's passing. Sad to see, but the Leech, or Action, Damon Jackson, he's the man. He's on like a 4-fight win streak or something like that. He has that loss to Ilya Topuria. No shame there. But, dude, Damon Jackson always brings the fight, always takes it to his opponent, pretty much always an underdog, and you can count on the guy to get the finish, too. Sometimes he'll go to decision, yeah, but, if you're betting on a guy by submission, Damon Jackson's usually a safe bet. If you're betting on a guy to hold strong over an early storm by an opponent, Damon Jackson. My gosh, this guy can power through whatever. The dude's just fun to watch. He is all action, so that action name fits. It's not in his last fight, he did kind of take that last round off a little bit. He was pretty exhausted. Or not his last fight, the one before that. The last one was Pat Sabatini. He wrecked poor Pat Sabatini. So Damon Jackson's my guy. Super excited for him now that he's just on this big run, finally getting recognition after putting out Pat Sabatini in no time flat. Just Pat Sabatini riding a wave of momentum in the UFC, was starting to become a big name, hot prospect. Damon Jackson turned him away like it was nothing. So another one of my favorites is another guy that just keeps turning back prospects, keeps rising up the ranks even though doesn't get the credit for it. So I really like Damon Jackson. Let me know if Damon Jackson falls on your list. I've got 2 more for you. It's getting pretty wild towards the top here. Number 2 on the list, a guy coming in off back-to-back wins over some fun competition, but a guy that always brings the fight. Dude, Drew Dober has never been in a boring fight in his entire career, and I can 100% guarantee that. If you can find a boring Drew Dober fight, or even like a less than exciting Drew Dober fight, send it to me because I could not find one. If you give me $1 million to find one, I would have a hard time finding it. I don't think he's ever had a boring fight. Drew Dober, all action, all the time, hardest chin on the planet. The guy's got a chin made of steel. And remember I mentioned Eric Anders? Drew Dober was the guy I was there to see that night when I saw Eric Anders kick poor Tim Williams' head off. Drew Dober's the man. Me and all my buddies were there with these like cardboard cutout heads of Drew Dober. It was kind of a weird thing. He used to train with some buddies of mine. I never trained with him. He's, just didn't. We crossed different times. We crossed the gym, but Drew Dober used to train with a bunch of buddies of mine, and so we were all there with these like cardboard cutout heads of his. It was a fun time. The guy's the man. Super exciting fighter. And even better, this guy will go through a whole war, get hit in the head like 100 times, then you put a microphone in his face, and he's super articulate, sounds like he doesn't have any brain damage, which is super surprising because the guy's face has been turned into hamburger in quite a few fights. Terrence McKinney fight, for example, where it looked like McKinney was going to get the finish, and then Drew Dober comes back after just getting mauled and just steals the victory, you know what I mean? So Drew Dober's a highlight reel just waiting to happen. If you got a Drew Dober fight on the card, you can pretty much hand out the fight of the night bonus right away. You don't even have to deal with anything. It's going to happen. Drew Dober's going to steal the show. But yeah, number 2 on my list. I've got one left. You might already know who it is if you've been around the channel a while because his last fight I kind of raved about him a bit. But yeah, Drew Dober's my guy. I hope to see him fighting again soon. I don't know that he has anything booked. Maybe he does. I think all the others all right, because I mentioned Damon Jackson in the last one. He's actually just, yesterday or today, got announced that he's got, yesterday or today when I'm recording this. When you see this, it'll be a little later. But Jackson's got Dan Ige coming up. I don't know if Dober does. I'll find out before the next video, and I'll update you before I give away my full finish here. again, let me know your favorite 5 down in the comments, and like this video if you haven't already. Unless, of course, you find that my favorite person is somebody you absolutely hate, you can unlike the video then. Subscribe to the channel. I know this isn't my normal content, but, you know, do it. You'll get to see some picks and predictions coming up for the December 3rd card. So there we go. Let's go to the next one. My favorite fighter in the UFC, Juicy J, Julian Erosa is the freaking man. Unfortunately, he's fighting Alex Caceres coming up soon, so that's kind of a bummer. I will be on Team Julian Erosa all the time. Yeah, he's got 1 loss in his last 7 fights or something like that, but that's it. I think he lost to Sungwoo Choi maybe. But otherwise, the dude just keeps turning people back. I bet Julian Erosa in every single fight that this guy has in the UFC. Why? Because he's an underdog in just about every fight, and he wins almost every fight. I mean, the guy has 1 loss in his last 7 or 8 or something like that. The dude just keeps turning him back. He beat Sean Woodson as a big underdog. That was huge. Just recently, he beat Dawoodu. I had Julian Erosa big in that fight when he beat Dawoodu. Love it. Julian Erosa, always the underdog. Always exciting. Come in with his hands down and just start swinging bombs. And then somebody will try to shoot on him because they're tired of getting smacked in the face by these bombs coming forward. And then, you know, he'll choke him out. So Julian Erosa, he's my guy. Favorite fighter in the UFC currently. I know this is a weird list. I didn't pick anybody in the top 5 rankings. I'm not trying to be a hipster or nothing like that, but these are just exciting fighters. Some of the top guys, you see it with a lot of them when they're the champion. They're usually a less exciting fight because there's... The skill is obviously more important than excitement when you get to the top level, which is great, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta like those fights that are just wild as all get out. And you know what? Julian Erosa brings it every single time. I told you I'd mentioned Drew Dober doesn't have a fight coming up, so I was correct. He's currently still looking. So if there's any fighters watching this, and you're at the lightweight division, and you're looking for a fun fight, dude, call Drew Dober. Let's go. Get him in there. Get another fight for him. But yeah, Julian Erosa, that's my guy. I'm kind of looking forward to the fight with Alex Caceres, and I'm kind of not, because one of them has to lose, and that sucks. I mean, they're both my top 5 favorites. But yeah, let me know your list. This is just kind of a fun video, something to do, something to keep the channel active while we have this weekend off. Here in the States, everybody's celebrating Thanksgiving, so if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving from all of us, meaning me, over here at 138 MMA. You know, rip into that turkey leg and remember at 138 MMA while you do it. Go ahead and like this video. I'll see you guys next week for a full breakdown. We've got the UFC Fight Night coming up with Wonder Boy taking on Kevin Holland. So that should be a fun one. And if I haven't already mentioned it enough, put your top 5 favorite in the comments, guys. I would love to hear them. Everybody's always talking about how they love this fighter, that fighter. I want to see your top 5. Let's go. Bring it back to the MySpace days for all you old folks where you had to rank your friends. If anybody remembers that, let me know as well. I'm kind of old. Anyway, see you guys next week. We've got some fun fights coming up on that card. And I'm looking forward to doing all my research during this long weekend. See you there.